got a request to finish the story from last week. So I will do that. But before I do that, though, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, this is the last of the 9-week series on gratitude. And next week, I'll be starting the 9-week series on codependency. So we'll continue the Zoom lectures, and our topic for the next 9 weeks will be on codependency. So I'll talk more about that, next week. And you can connect about that too if you want to. That series I'll be doing next week is on YouTube, okay? And a lot of the other stuff is on YouTube too. For your information, this 9-week series, 8 of them are on YouTube. The only one we missed was the first one on life. So what I'm going to try to do with Loretta is retape that one and then get it on there also, okay? So we'll see what happens. Okay, everything else you can check out there and see what happens with it. All right, I do want to mention the starting point has opened, okay? We're on a slow schedule. Just the counselors are in right now. So we're phase 1 with the counselors, and our receptionists are there 12 to 7, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays from 8 to 4. Okay, so just to let you know that we're trying. We'll see what happens. Okay, I want to basically begin today by doing a reading because we're going to be talking a lot about gratitude for relationships today. And I love talking about this because to me, it's what I call the core of everything that we do. So I picked a reading, parts of it, not the whole reading, but pieces of it from January 6th in the language of letting go. If we are unhappy without a relationship, we'll probably be unhappy with one too. A relationship doesn't begin our life. A relationship doesn't become our life. A relationship is a continuation of life. Relationships are the blessing and the ban of recovery. Relationships where we take our recovery show on the road. Each day we are faced with a prospect of functioning in several different relationships. Sometimes we choose these relationships, sometimes we don't. The one choice we usually have in our relationships concerns our own behavior. We're learning to acknowledge our power to take care of ourselves in our relationships. Recovery is not done apart from our relationships. Recovery is done by learning to own our power and take care of ourselves in relationships. Today, I'll participate in my relationships to the best of my ability. I make myself available for closeness and sharing with people I trust. I will ask for what I need and give what feels right. Okay. I want to just take a minute and kind of finish the story I was telling last week when the power went out. I got quite a number of requests to do that. And it's a story I've told before. And I really talked a lot about when we talk about service. If we really learn to get out of the way, God basically does service through us. An example of this was back in 1981, and I was still a priest at the time, and I dropped a lady off for treatment at Riverside House in Northeast Philly. And the director of the program said to me about 10 minutes to 1, and he said, I want you to give the lecture at 1 o'clock today. Well, I kind of was taken back a little bit. I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? He said, talk about spirituality. So I got up for about 45 minutes. I talked about spirituality. When I was done, he came up to me and he said, that lecture was pretty good. He said, why don't you come back once a month, because the patients are 28 days, and give it. I said, Bill, I would love to. I have no idea what I said. So Bill actually taped the lecture, gave me a copy of it. We had tapes back then. Gave me a copy of the tape. I played it in my car on the way home. It was pretty damn good. I got a lot out of it. Yeah, it's interesting sometimes how we really are able to speak from our heart, speak from the inside of us, from our experiences. And so much of that kind of brings everything together. And so today what I want to do basically is talk about gratitude and relationships. Because really in reality, when you notice the 9-week series, I put relationships at the end. The reason why I did this is because it's kind of the way in which we summarize all the different talks we talked about on gratitude. For example, whenever we talk about relationships, and I think sometimes we kind of get bogged down because when we think of relationships a lot of times, we think of a relationship between a man and a woman, or between man and man and woman and woman. a lot of times we think about adult relationships. But relationships are the gifts of life. Relationships are the core of life. And basically, well, like the reading said, we take our show on the road. Every day in life, we're involved in many different types of relationships. So there's two things I want to share with you today. One is, think about this just for a couple of minutes. It kind of takes us through the stuff we talked about. Everything we talked about in gratitude cannot take place alone and by yourself. We need to be interconnected with other human beings and other people. All of our learning, all of our growing comes from one another. So in life, we're involved in all different types of relationships from birth right up to death. Your birth is your first relationship. Your relationship into the world, you have a relationship with the world. And in reality, you also have a relationship with your parents. So you ever notice something when you're born? You're very dependent and very codependent too. You depend a lot on your parents, of course. And basically it's part of the process of beginning. But then as we go through life, we begin to experience other aspects of relationships. We begin to experience our family. Then we experience neighborhood. We experience culture. We experience all the things we are connected to in life. And as a result, then we're actually being trained in different aspects of relationships. We then experience a relationship of school, of work. And so what I do a lot of times is when I talk about relationships, I love talking about what I call the relationship wheel. I'll show you how it works. Visualize a wagon wheel and notice something about the wagon wheel. If you actually look at a wagon wheel, you'll notice that it has a core and a center, the axle. That axle is each and every one of us. From our own personal self, then things go out. They go out to the rim, which is a circle of life. But as we build the wheel over the course of life, the wheel is something we have to constantly work on to bring us to a better understanding of life and what life really is all about. And so in reality, what's happening is we're building the wheel. In the beginning, and there are different spokes that come out from the wheel. So if I truly learn the ultimate relationship, which is the one I have with myself as a person, then I'm able to build the spokes and develop balance in the course of my life. So many of us are out of balance. If you have an addictive personality, congratulations. We always get out of balance because we keep thinking that we're going to find that one place, that one thing. But really, in reality, everything's interconnected. We're all part of one another. For example, if we look at some of the things we talked about gratitude, we talked about family, we talked about growth, openness, we talked about change, we talked about the concept of experiences, recovery. All these things interconnect us with other human beings. We can't do them by ourselves. All of our experiences from birth to death are part of relationships. And so every day of our life, we're having more and more relationships connected to what we're doing in the course of our journey in life. We have having a relationship with our health, with the land that we live in. We have a relationship even with diseases. You know, right now, all of us have had a relationship with the virus. It's affected every one of our lives. And it is a personal relationship. We've experienced relationships in so many different areas of life. And as a result, then, we have to learn how to be open to them. As we go through life, we realize the ultimate relationship we have is the one we have with ourselves. I really say this over and over again, you know, when I do my workshop on relationships. The ultimate relationship that we have in life is the one that we have with ourselves. It is the only relationship that we have. Everything else flows from it. And so if you really have balance in your life, then you're able to open yourself up to all different areas of relationship. School is a relationship. Work is a relationship. People you're connected with are relationships. Recovery is a relationship. Even when you're connected to people that you have an intimate relationship with is a relationship. So we have all different types of relationships. What's so beautiful about them is they're always in process of changing. Nothing just stays the same. And so as we grow in life, we keep making sure we keep developing the spokes of life, staying connected to the circle of life. And I've learned in my own life how important this is because as I go back and look at it today, I realize that I've had the experience in life of being involved in so many different types of relationships. Everything from my family right on up to where I'm at today. And every one of them has been part of my journey. Even the negative ones are part of your journey. Because even the negative ones bring you to where you are today. Sometimes we have to be able to realize the fact that things are constantly changing. I joke a lot, but it's not really a joke. Even if you're involved in a good, healthy relationship with someone, it keeps changing every day. Everything in life is in process of changing. There is no magic, I'm sorry. There is the concept of God, our connection to a higher power. But in reality, that higher power also is a guide. That higher power walks alongside of us and helps us on our journey. But our journey is really what it's all about. And so in my relationships, I have to learn to be more open. I have to be open to change, open to new things in life, to be able to realize the fact that I'm in this constant process. Look at my own journey in my own life and look back to my family. And I learned this, in dealing with my mom and my dad and my family and my ultimate, I always joke a lot about my Italian family. I'm joking with the area I grew up in Camden. And things have changed there, connected to where I was as a child. Everything in life is in constant process of changing. And I realize today that even my experiences, my experience with my mom had an effect on my life, as your parents had an effect on your life. I ended up going into the priesthood and basically going away from home at age 14 because I lived out the dream of my family. And you might just know about family histories and stuff to that effect. So all these are part of your journey and part of relationships. But then when you actually begin to experience them, you have to go through changes. Are you scared to be able to reach out, to connect to others, to learn from others around us? I mean, my mom gave me some wonderful gifts. First of all, she gave me my addictive personality. How many times a day now I say thank you to her? I know my mom had a lot of dysfunctionality. She had her own source of addiction. But I realized today, my mom gave me my addictive personality. Without that personality, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And I'm grateful for that. When I was going through my transition and my change process in life, I wasn't very grateful about that. But isn't it funny sometimes how you have to go through craziness and insanity to come to awareness and growth? Sometimes we have to make mistakes to grow and learn. Sometimes we have to actually do it the crazy way first and then find out that things do flow. But in time, I'm convinced everything finds its way. It's a process, it's a flow. Everything finds its way through life. What's scary sometimes is when you try to centralize your life only in one direction, just like that wagon wheel. If you only have one spoke, guess what? The wheel's not going to run. It's going to collapse. Life is going to collapse around you. That's what addiction does to us. And we can have an addictive relationship. We have addiction in all kinds of different areas of our life. We have to get to a point where we look at these addictions and look at these behaviors and become open to learn from them and grow from them. And so I thank you, Mom, for my addictive personality. I thank my family for the craziness that they were. They gave me a lot of gifts. I thank my dad for teaching me to be a wonderful codependent. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. I almost killed myself in the process, but what are you going to do? But I realize today I'm grateful to my father. My father's a good man. I have a lot of love for him, a lot of love for things in my life today. And I'm grateful for all the things he taught me and gave me, and he said so many beautiful things. I learned, what's funny about it though? It took me a long time to really appreciate that relationship. I don't think you're any different than me. Isn't it funny sometimes how we have to fight and battle the things that really are healthy and good for us? Again, it comes to a process in life. I joke about this today, but it's not a joke. Back when I was 20 years old, and I really was 20 at one time. I tell my grandson that all the time. I really was 20. And when I was 20 years old, I had a problem. I knew everything. Isn't that amazing? I knew everything. I had life by the tail. And then I turned 30. I discovered all the questions. When I turned 40, I found out there weren't any answers. When I turned 50, I didn't care. When I turned 60, what the hell, let it all hang out. Then 70, we're really having fun. Now I'm in my 80s. Wow. I can really go crazy now. I can look back on life and realize, wow, all the experiences, all the things we've gone through in life. And many of us have gone through a lot of struggle and a lot of pain. I know I have. There's so many things in life I've fought, I've battled, I've struggled with that later on became my best teachers. So many people in my life that I had a hard time with and struggled with, but I've learned something. Struggle is the secret to life. If you allow yourself to go through struggle, then guess what? You're going to earn things and develop things, and things will work for you over a period of time. I've learned not to look for answers, just to be open to the process, be open to the journey of life. I've learned that there's so many beautiful people. I look back on my life today of the people that were some of my greatest teachers. Some of them were a pain in the ass, I'll be honest with you. Some of them I love dearly. Some of them kicked my rear end. But you know what? I'm grateful for every one of them. Because every one of them eventually gave me a message and taught me things about myself and life. I'm grateful for all the people I know today, for every one of you. Because every one of you are also my teachers. Every person I meet on the journey brings a message. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is special. Each one of us actually is giving to one another and sharing with one another and helping one another on the journey. And that's why relationships are what it's really all about. And miracles happen when it comes to relationships. I really believe that. I believe that God sends people into our life at the strangest time, the strangest places, to teach us things about life. One of my favorite stories, and I have to tell you some stories, you know that. My favorite stories is my story from Malvern Rehab over in Pennsylvania. Now I'm going back now to the year 1985. I think it's 84, 85. I forget when it was. I used to go over to Malvern every 2 weeks and give a community lecture. I used to be there with a lot of people, and there was a thing they offered. And I was in my lecture one day, and when I was done the lecture, I used to hang out, and talk to people and see where people were going. And I was in the cafeteria, and I sat down with this young girl. And she sat there, we talked, I had a cup of coffee, and I got to know her a little bit. But I said something to her, and this is how God works on the program, I mean it. I said, you know what? Everybody's been bugging me to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. I don't think I can write a book. I don't really know what I'm doing. But I said, someday I'm going to ask people to tape my lectures, type them on a manuscript on the computer, make copies and bring it into me. This girl sitting across from me named Annie said to me with a straight face, not a problem, Vince, I did it already. I said, what? I've come to your lectures for a long time now. I taped them, I transcribed them. So next week she brought in the manuscript for my first book. I then got a good friend of mine from the Philadelphia Inquirer who helped me edit it and put it together. And with a lot of help from a lot of other people, I produced the book. It's amazing, isn't it? But I got the point I'm bringing out is this. I never could have did that just on my own. I needed people to help me with it. And I've learned the magical word in my life today is the word help. Help me. To me, I consider these the most magical words on the face of the earth. And so many times our stubbornness and our craziness and our insanity, we're scared to ask for help. And God keeps sending teachers into our life to help us on our journey. Even in dealing with my eating disorder, I reflect back today, because you're looking at a crazy person who basically did not understand what he really was doing. I came into the rooms of this program, believe it or not, in 1969. It's a long time ago. Some of you weren't even here yet. But in 1969, I went to an Al-Anon meeting, and the strange people at Al-Anon kept telling me something. They just kept telling me to work on me. Of course, I was a priest. What kind of work did I need? I had it all together. So I'm looking at, I was 29 years old. I got it all together. Well, I didn't listen to them, but they helped me to deal with some stuff anyway. Finally, in 1972, I had a nervous breakdown. I was in a psychiatric hospital. And a wonderful doctor, another teacher from God, came up to me and he said, Vince, you have no idea who you are. You have no sense of yourself at all. I said, what are you talking about? I'm a priest. He said, no. He said, you're spiritually dead. You have no sense of yourself at all. You have no idea where you're going. In fact, keep up what you're doing, he said. You'll be dead by the time you're 40. I didn't like him, by the way. It's like I didn't like the people at Al-Anon. But isn't it funny how you're getting a message from all different types of people in different places? But because of our stubbornness, because we think we can do it on our own, it takes a while for it to get through. The good thing about my stay in the hospital anyway, he identified one of my addictions, and I got into recovery, but I didn't get into recovery. See, I'm one of those guys. We have a nickname for them in the program. We call them two-steppers. I think you know what a two-stepper is. I know, Wayne, you know what a two-stepper is. I got the first one, but I figured I need the 10 in between. I just do number 12. So I ran around trying to save the world and literally destroyed myself in the process because my eating disorder went way out of control. And I ended up, as a result of it, having to deal with things I don't want to deal with. I never did any work because that doctor was right. I was external, I wasn't internal. Everything around me was giving me a message. I don't want to hear it. And I really believe in relationships a lot of times. People come into your life, they plant a seed. They'll come into your life and teach you something about yourself. Think back in your own life how things happen. I wouldn't be in my eating disorder today if it wasn't for the lady I'm married to today. She's the one that introduced me to holistic health, introduced me to a therapist, a doctor, who helped me tremendously. I'm grateful for that today. It's amazing how people come into your life at certain times in certain places, and they then become part of your journey. And as a result, then things begin to happen. Never thought my wildest dreams, my wildest imagination, I'd be able to make some of the decisions I had to make. But it's amazing how everybody else can see what's going on inside of you, but you can't see it in yourself. And so actually you have to make changes to move into a new area of relationship, the things we talked about. And I realized today how important that is. As I realized how to make a major decision to let go of, I called it a divorce, how to divorce myself from the priesthood, open up a new way of life, learn from scratch how to live life all over again. With the grace of God, get involved in a relationship that I'm still involved in with today. I'm grateful for my wife and my family. Inherit a lot of kids and grandkids and all kinds of wonderful stuff. More teachers. It's amazing, isn't it? But even going through that process, we have to struggle. We got to go through it. You know, and I think sometimes we get so caught up in our intellect. And basically, we're scared to death to get close to anyone. We're scared to take risks. We're scared to take chances. We're scared to move forward. Oh, it's easy to take a risk externally, to take a risk internally, to go and look at the inside of you, to be able to have to face some of the demons and the things that are inside of us, to be able to actually do your work, to look at yourself on the inside. That's scary. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for all the money in the world. Because today, with the grace of God in this program and the grace of the people around me and all of you, I'm able to experience so many beautiful things in life today. Because I believe God works in mysterious ways. It's amazing. Let me go back to that story I told you about back in the beginning, back at Riverside House. I always love telling this part of that story. When I was a priest, I was given that lecture, and after the lecture, one of the patients came up to me, and she said something to me. She said, "You a priest?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I hate priests." And she said, "And also all that stuff you talked about spirituality, you're full of shit." And I looked at her and I said, "Who's this person?" Well, guess what? Later on, she became a therapist, a starting point. Teresa Barrett, beautiful lady, fantastic lady. Jeff, you know who I mean. And the beautiful part about it was our connection and relationship started in that room with her telling me off. God, I love her. God rest her soul. She became a big part of our family, a big part of our work that we do. You know, I look back on Bernie. I look at all the different people that we're connected to and became part of the family. I always love telling the story of Bernie Stiefel, who was one of our counselors for a long period of time. And many of you now remember Bernie. Bernie was a great guy. But I worked with him in rehab back in the 80s at Charter Fairmont in Philadelphia. And Bernie came up to me one day, and he used to drive me nuts, I'm telling you. He's a Jewish guy, unbelievable. He would come up to me, and he would say to me, after my lectures and stuff, he would say, "Father, tell me who my higher power is." But he made me nuts. So one day I got tired of hearing it. I grabbed him by the back of the neck. I took him outside. There was a tree out there. I said, "Bernie, come out here every day and ask the tree to keep you sober. At nighttime, come out here and thank the tree. And in fact, give the tree a hug and thank you for keeping you sober." Came back a week later and I said, "You talk to the tree?" He said, "Yeah." "Are you still sober?" He said, "Yeah, good." I said, "That tree's your higher power. Leave me alone. Don't bother me no more." And I love that. See, because again, Bernie later on then became a good friend of mine. Bernie later on became a therapist, a starting point. You never know where it's going to lead us. And it's the little things like that that open up doors to make things happen in different directions. Some of the people that have come into my life, be my teachers, have been some of the greatest people on the face of the earth. I'll always be grateful. I get on my knees every day and I thank God for a man that was able to touch my life in such a powerful way. His name was Norm D. Norm D took me to my first meeting way back in 1976. And that meeting I went to was the Mustard Seed in Philadelphia. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And Norm used to say to me all the time, "That little mustard seed," he said, "I want you to plant it. That mustard seed is you." He used to say to me all the time, he says, "Vince, you know what? You're just beginning. You know where that seed's going to lead you." And I didn't truly understand him, but now I do. And mustard seed has grown. And of course, Norm always had an agenda, so I like Norm. The next day, he took me over to St. Luke's Hospital in Philadelphia. And guess what he did? Told me I was starting point. Became one of our original people. And basically got me involved in the house in Philly and the stuff we're doing. Oh my God in heaven. And Norm took me to told me the mustard seed is now ready to grow. And I love Norm. But see, they're the guys that were such great teachers in your life. I love talking about them because they've affected my life in such powerful ways. And it's not about all the craziness in the world around you, because I'm going to tell you a secret. Please don't tell anybody. The world we live in is by nature dysfunctional. It's supposed to be. We have to be able to build a relationship even with dysfunctionality, because dysfunctionality is the key to everything. Parents have to learn to let their children go. They have to learn to allow them to their own growth process and even allow them their mistakes. There's codependence. A lot of times you want to rescue everybody, want to fix everybody. And believe me, 10 years, I beat the crap out of myself. I don't want to fix anybody today. I don't want to rescue anybody. It's their job. I have to realize the fact that I can carry a message, I can plant a seed, I can do service work, I can do all kinds of things, but I can't do it for people. Each one of us has to walk our own journey and walk our own journey in life. And that's the most spiritual part of this program, because every relationship that you have to realize the fact that it's part of who you are. Some relationships stay around for a long period of time. Some of them don't. Sometimes they bring change into our life, and sometimes we have to learn to let go. That's all part of it. And yet, so many of us have a hard time letting go because we're afraid to say those two magical words. And please don't be afraid to say them. The words are, "Help me, please, help me." When you ask for help, help will arrive. I've learned that if I pray every day to God and ask God to help and guide me, He sends teachers into my life. Do I like all the teachers that He sends? No. Some of them are a real pain. And some of them drive me crazy. But guess what? He sends them into my life to teach me things about life. Did you ever meet somebody in your life that really drives you nuts and makes you half crazy? Why do they come into my life? Teach me patience and tolerance, the little things in life. And stories are what it's really all about. Because I've learned over the years that basically you can't judge, you can't fix. You have to learn to stop judging and just be able to work our journey. If we truly do work on yourself and grow and stay connected to God or your higher power, Stay connected to the source of prayer and celebration. This morning when I was doing my reading, I did a posting on Facebook from my Native American Indians book, and it said it was about conversations with God. And the whole concept was that a true person of prayer talks to God all day long. Because guess what? The higher power walks right alongside of you. It's sitting next to you right now. No matter what you're doing, it doesn't make any difference. As long as you're able to say, walk with me, help me, be part of me, because you are my relationship too. Everything else will come to you. The people will come into your life, they'll change too. You'll experience new things in your life. You'll experience new people. And things will come to an end, and growth will take place. It's all part of it. Remember back in 8th grade, you had that one person that you really were close to, and the two of you were going to be friends forever and ever and ever and ever. You look back and you say, where are they? I have no idea where they are. At that point, they were. They were part of your community and part of your journey. They were a relationship at that period of time. And as you go through different areas of your life, things change. Nobody stays the same. Even if you're in a marriage, or if you're in a committed relationship, or if you're living with someone, every day it changes. Every day you grow older. Every day different things begin to happen. The secret is to celebrate every person that's in your life, celebrate all the situations that are in your life, try to be open to the things around you, and to realize that we can't do anything when it comes to gratitude and love and humility unless we do it in conjunction with others. It begins by asking our God of our understanding for help, then also asking others to help us too. Remember the human world. We need each other. We're part of each other. We don't have answers, but we can support each other. We can give each other a hug. We can't do it right now, but we'll get back to that. We have to be able to realize the importance of people that were around us. Take a look at the people that are close to you right now and basically honor them, celebrate them, celebrate who they are. You may disagree with them. You may want to just run away, but you know what? They're there for a purpose. If you're involved in a relationship, celebrate your relationship. Celebrate the way. I have so much gratitude, for my wife, for my stepdaughters, for my grandkids, for the people that are part of my journey. I love every one of them. They're my teachers too. It's a beautiful part about it. And I realize today that even all of our lives are changing too. My grandson's here and he could tell you. Remember a long time ago, Bryce, when I used to get down on my all fours? I used to stand on my back and do all kinds of crazy gymnastics and everything. Please don't do that today. Because if you stood on my back today, I'd be dead. I had to change too. I can't do some of the things I could do before. And that's all part of it. But the memories are there. And the wonderful thing about life is don't ever lose your memories. Your memories of different situations and people and things in your life, because they are the relationships of life, the gifts of life. Every human being is a gift. We're part of God's journey. And we're going to go through changes, disagreements, fights, battles, struggles. Wow, isn't it great? It's all part of the journey we have to go through. What I realized today, though, is you got to be open to that journey, be able to ask for help and ask for guidance. I want to tell another story, if you don't mind. I'm going overboard today. I can't help it. But one of my favorite stories, you probably heard of this character. His name was St. Augustine. Okay, St. Augustine. And I always love telling his story because if he was alive today, he's not, by the way, but if he was alive today, his story goes a little bit like this. He would have qualified as an alcoholic, sex addict, you name it, he would have qualified. He was a crazy man. He was totally out of control. But he came to that point in his life, and I call it the spiritual awakening, where he had to get down on his knees. He is in a state of total despair. And the story goes to say he was ready to commit suicide. He fell down on his knees and he said, "Please help me." And the story says that a hand reached down and grabbed him, lifted him up. He has no idea where the hand came from. And as a result of that hand lifting him up and starting him on a new journey in his life, he eventually became a saint in the Catholic Church. If you go to a 12-step fellowship today called Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, it's referred to as the St. Augustine Fellowship. It's actually named after him. See, again, even our founders, Bill W. and Dr. Bob, they definitely weren't saints. They went through a lot of hell, but they came to their awakening. I always love our program because you know what? This program came together by a bunch of crazy drunks who got together and created all this beautiful stuff that we have and we experience today. And we're all a little bit nuts and crazy, let's face it. Come on. And maybe it's good though. Sometimes don't keep looking for answers to everything. Enjoy life. Celebrate life. So the ultimate relationship you have is with you, and celebrate who you are every day. Take time to pray every day. Take time to be open to the people that come into your life, your different types of relationships. Are they going to always be in fantasy land? No. And by the way, don't get me wrong, I like fantasy. But you can't be in fantasy all the time. You got to stay in reality. You have to realize the fact that things keep changing. We'll keep changing. We get older. We go through changes. You know, look at stages of life. We go through birth. We go through those high school years. We go through the young adult years. We go through college. Then we become young adults. Then we go into what they call the middle-age slump, or whatever they call it, the midlife crisis, all kinds of stuff. And then we move into other part of life. Then we move into the golden years. By the way, these are the golden years. It's called old age. Isn't it wonderful? You get an AARP card, you get discounts, do all kinds of crazy stuff. So you have to even look at every part of life and be grateful for it, even knowing that one day you're going to leave this earth. Ask yourself a question today. If I left this earth today, do I leave the gift of myself with those around me? That's what's important. If you touch one other human being in your life, just one, you made progress, you've grown. And that's what it's really all about. We've been given so many gifts. Those gifts, the gift of life, the gift of family, we're all connected to one another. And our families even change over the course of years. And the most important thing is to realize the value of who you are and to be open to all the people we meet in the course of our journey. And the people you're involved in relationships with are all part of your journey. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're teachers, sometimes we have to let go. But change is part of the process of life too. Everything's always changing. And so enjoy who you are and celebrate yourself. I did this series on the gifts of gratitude because to me, the three most important words in my life today are gratitude, humility, and love. Gratitude for all the experiences, gratitude for everything, gratitude for life. Gratitude for the humility of being able to be open to learn new things and grow. Please don't be done. And love. Love yourself. You'll be able to love others. To see with everything we do in life. And so I really hope that this series helps you to understand and be grateful for the things you're grateful for. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy putting it together because when I put those gifts of gratitude together, I learned one thing about those gifts. Every one of them involves my connection with other people. My connection with the world, my connection with the land, my connection with things I'm connected to in life. You can't do it in this world by yourself. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. So I want to offer a prayer of gratitude for all the grateful things we have in our journey. A prayer of gratitude for each and every one of you. As you know, I love you. I really care about you. It's a big part of our journey. But remember to love each other, be close to each other, help each other. That's what this really is all about. So let us pray. God, we come before you as a family. We come before you to celebrate the gift of life. We celebrate the sense of family. Thank God, Lord, we don't have to walk this earth by ourselves. Thank you for walking alongside of us. Teach us the humility of being asked for help and guidance in what we do. Teach us not to look for answers, but to be open to the journey and be open to the gift of life. You are such a great teacher. If only we have faith, if we only trust, if we're not open, everything will have purpose, a meaning, and an ending. Everything will find its way. Teach us, Lord, just to be open to where the journey of life is going to take us. I thank you every day in gratitude for the gift of life you've given me, for the gift of the people in my life, for the gift of my family, for the gift of all the people around me, for the gift of every little thing that's happened in the course of my journey. Thank you for Mom and Dad for bringing me into this world. I'm so grateful to you. And one of the beautiful things about that gift is that gift was a seed you planted to bring me into this world. God, thank you. Thank you for my family. Thank you for the people around me. But above all, thank you for my recovery family too. Because we are a family. We are connected to one another. And don't try to walk by yourself. Hold on to each other. Share with each other. Stay close to each other. The lessons come from the journey of life. We experience sometimes, God, and we don't understand it sometimes why things happen, but they do. Teach us to accept them, be open to them, and learn from them. We pray in a very special way for all those that have gone before us, all those who have left this world, all those that were great teachers, and even those people that left this world, maybe sometimes in tragedy, they also are great teachers. We learn so many lessons in life if we're open to it. So God, I ask your blessing and your guidance in all that we do as a family. Thank you in gratitude. Thank you in humility, and thank you in love. Thank you for just being you and allowing us the gift to be open, to do service, and to work with each other. We ask this every day in your name. Amen. And now if we just would say the serenity prayer together.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.